David Kindopp.
Hello.
Author. Author David Kindopp. It's great to have you here. You write a column in the Mazatlan Messenger.
I do.
You have written some books and you're writing more.
I have.
And we're really glad to have you with us today. Today we're going to cover something a little bit crazy. What is normal anyway? What's the new normal? And is it normal?
That's the big question, right?
So the topic is?
The topic is abnormal, the new normal. It all generated from my coming back from being in Mexico for a while and then hanging out in Northern California. and
what
just
a contrast.
Yeah, oh yeah, in many ways, big contrast. I had occasion to be in Reno, Nevada. And I was up there visiting a friend. And I went downtown Reno. I went to downtown Reno and I spent some time in there. There's 3 casinos now that are interlinked there. You don't have to drive to them. They're all walkways, causeways, over the road, under the road. I don't know what it is. And I think it's Circus, Silver Legacy, and El Dorado. So I'm walking through these great big wide areas of promenades. There's the casino floor, there's the restaurant promenade, and there's all these different places, of course. And it just struck me, like all at once, how many unusual people were there. And also it struck me that I was in a place called Circus, and it was like going to the circus, and what I realized, and I think I mentioned in this piece, is that, I make a note, like, it used to be you had to go to the circus or the carnival to see, like, the tattooed lady or the human pincushion or the exotic person with with barely anything on, and wear clothing, or the clowns with the crazy clothes and the orange hair, or the blue hair, and and now walking through that casino or those series of casinos, that's what it's like. It's like going to the circus or the carnival. I didn't have my notepad with me, and I tried to remember the craziest stuff. And I guess the way I bring this around is the idea about basic human rights. For example, like, I believe that we all should respect everybody's humanness. I believe in basic human rights, but I keep wondering what's a basic human right? I mean, I think we have a basic human right to be respected, no matter what our ethnicity. But do we have the right then to expand our individuality so that it is offensive possibly to other people everywhere we go? And so
define offensive.
Well, my analogy is then I think about my grandfather, and of course I'm wondering, am I getting old? Am I starting to think like my grandfather? God forbid. and I mentioned this. If my grandfather were observing a male Caucasian in his mid-20s walking down the road with his pants pulled halfway down his butt and his hat on backwards, and his ears with big ear gauges where it looks like he's from Zimbabwe. And if he had his tongue was pierced, and his eyebrows were pierced, and he had a stud in his nose, and his hair was a mohawk, purple and orange, my grandfather would be stunned.
I saw one on 101, kid walking like that, and his pants waistline was literally below his butt cheeks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The pants.
Right.
I mean, he didn't have to bend over to get it there. It was already there.
Right. To me, that's just rude, And I think of myself as a fairly liberal guy, I mean, I'm the guy that has social conversations about going to clothing optional places, and people, look at me askance and raise their eyebrows. So I'm a fairly liberal guy in a lot of ways. But when I see that, to me, that's putting something that's rude in everybody's face, and I don't think that's I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that's your basic human right. I don't think you have the right to do that. You know.
I don't really think it has anything to do with human rights. That's the excuse. I think it has to do with all-out rebellion. I'm not going to have anybody tell me what to do.
Right.
You're not going to tell me what to do. My parents aren't going to tell me what to do. Nobody can tell me what to do anymore in your face. I think that's what it is. It doesn't have anything to do with human rights. It has to do with their own anger. I'm not going to be what you want me to be.
Right. I get that it's a rebellion of conformity. I mean, it's like wearing pegged pants. You know.
But they're conforming to the leader of their
Right.
rebellion, even
Right.
though they're refusing to conform to the one that came before them, whether it was society, their parents,
Right.
or their religion, or whatever.
Sure.
They're still not making a free choice. They're conforming to the leader of the anti-conformist.
Exactly. And that's the same pattern it's been.
Yes.
That's the same pattern it was with, pegged pants or whatever it was after that, in terms of
Right.
rebelling. My question is, I mean, pegged pants are one thing, right? For example, go back to the 50s, and my
Right.
grandfather wouldn't have liked pegged pants. Like, what's that about, But it wasn't like, it wasn't like you had... Pegged pants to me isn't the same as going into a coffee shop and ordering my 16-ounce decaf coffee and having the lady that serves me have a stud, a ring in her nose, or one through her lip, and a piercing in her tongue. And when she talks to me, I see this stuff. And her hair is blue and orange, and she's got tattoos on both arms. And her pants are, 6 inches below her belly button. And when she turns around, she's got this big tattoo, a tramp stamp, right? When she bends over to get a cup, that tramp stamp stares back at me. To me, that's not the same as pegged pants.
Right.
I mean, if you take that to the next logical step, it's like, well, why shouldn't she have the right to just be naked in there and serve me naked? Which, so where do we draw the line, and what's fair and reasonable? I have a friend here, and he, I've talked to him about this, and he says, hey, people are going to express themselves. Let them do what they want to do. And this guy is not a kid. He's he's older than I am, but his view is that's just what people are going to do. And hence, I come back to my my uncomfortable question is like, my God, am I beginning to think like my grandfather?
Yeah, every generation was very concerned about the younger generation. Every generation.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know. And it just seems to me that it's so, it's beyond crazy. It's beyond crazy. And like I said, it mystifies me that I think that way, because I'm generally very, very accepting and very, very liberal about almost everything, especially about live and let live. I absolutely believe, that. But it's all, my boundary seems to be infringing on the rights of others. And I think that you can infringe on the rights of others by sporting your particular brand of individualism and weirdness, by making that, in my face. I don't know, I don't know. And I mention it, and I mention it in, I think I couch certain aspects of this little piece with, could it be that society just can't get a grip on, controlling people's self-expression to the point that it's reasonable? Or could it be that we need to have self-expression in any form to have a free and a free society? Or could it be that I'm just plain thinking like my grandfather, Or could it be all of it? Could be all of the above.
Well, let me
I don't
ask
know.
you this. Let me ask you this, Dave. If a Zulu warrior came in wearing almost nothing, in full dress as a Zulu warrior, and served you coffee, would you have the same feeling?
Not in Africa.
Not in Africa. Not in Africa. That's true. That's true.
Well, obviously it's
So
about...
what we have here is a cultural shock.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't think it's the changes, not totally the changes, as much as it is the blatant in your face, what really makes most of those changes, which says, nobody's going to tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's an attitude that quite frequently comes with those changes. As a matter of fact, most of our great arts of tattooing got their claim to fame mostly in our prisons.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a cultural stigma that goes with that as well.
Right.
And we might not be aware of it, but we do. And so then those that are aware of that, now a lot of people aren't aware of that anymore. You can find it on the internet. You know, that tattoo art even today in prisons is so extreme that it can, you know, a person can be totally clothed in a tattoo so you don't have any spots that aren't tattooed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right.
Because, you know, it gives the guy something to do and etc.
Sure. Right.
So when we find out what's behind it, there's concepts of being accepted and concepts of saying, I won't be accepted in your thinking, that actually are the parent, the psychological parent of this dilemma. How do you equate that?
I don't know. You know, and that's, and that I think I put that question in what I wrote. You know, it's a mystery. It's absolutely a mystery, and yeah, I'm speechless.
When it comes to tattooing, the history of tattooing goes back to many nations. It used to be that many native nations tattooed their warriors.
Oh yeah.
As we decorate ours with badges on their jacket.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They actually made the notes of honor, or what should I say, honor and bravery. They cut them into their skin.
Right, right.
They colored their skin, they dyed their skin, they made them permanent.
Right.
And they did many things. And this is where tattooing began.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah.
So then we have this reality, and you wonder how much of this reality of where tattooing began is influencing today's kids, and do they know that? You know, we have the internet, maybe they know it. Do they know that? Or is it just the rebellion that's saying, I will not do and be as somebody tells me to do?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What do you think that equation would be?
I don't think people that get tattoos are thinking about the the Polynesian history and honor of getting a tattoo. In people in the United States, I don't think are thinking about that. I mean, I hear all these different reasons. You know, there's all these. You know, there's my boyfriend's name. You know, and I mean all this crazy stuff. Like, you know, your boyfriend's name. I mean, what happens when it? Yeah, man, we hear stories. You know, who's that? Oh, well, that was back in the.
Are you aware that in the TEDx talks, a tattoo parlor owner who is clothed in tattoos gave his talk on the history of tattoos and what they meant in Polynesia and other nations?
Yeah.
That his whole talk was that, and that is what he taught in his tattoo shop.
Oh, right.
And made access to that. So kids today are more aware of that than you think.
Interesting. Well,
yes,
yeah.
They really are. They're more aware of that than you think. And then there are some, like, I don't comprehend, maybe it's the hair color, but I just don't get the running a safety pin through your lip and your eyebrow. And where did that come from? I don't know of a culture that where that was honorable, except we look back in ancient India, and putting a gemstone in somebody's face was not considered unusual.
Oh, right, right.
So I don't know the cultural background of that.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that today's youth reaches out in many directions to rebel and to be different and to be embracing. Now, where's the difference between the embracing and the rebelling? I don't know, because I don't really understand much of anything about running a pin through your lip or your eyebrow. And I don't know where that came from. I know that for a long time in this nation, women have pierced their ears and it's been totally acceptable.
Right, right.
And we think, oh, well, that's wonderful. You're not going to lose your earrings anymore.
Right.
And everybody does it, and it became quite a fad. So where piercing started, I don't know. Do you know?
Oh, I have no clue. No clue. But I mean, obviously, it goes back thousands and thousands of years.
Right.
You know, I mean, you know, in many countries, yeah. Right.
Right.
You know, all kinds of crazy stuff. You know, and there, you know, piercings and tattoos and genital mutilation, you know, that all goes back years and years and years, and then, you know, people are doing that now today. Yeah.
I find things like that amazing too, to wear a pin where your clothes are going to aggravate it.
Yeah.
If you wear clothes, and you are compelled to wear clothes some of the time anyway.
Right, right.
But to wear something that's going to be constantly grating against your clothes and be aggravating, I don't get it.
I do not like pain. You know, I'm really a chicken about pain. So the whole thought of anything, you know, tattooing or piercing or anything like that, to me is just like, I just can't even go there, you know, even if I wanted to.
Where do we come to this delight in having pins stuck in us?
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a story, I forget who wrote, I think Carl Hyacin. I love Carl Hyacin. He writes these crazy stories set in Florida. They're fiction. And in one of his stories, there's a lady who gets goes to the tattoo parlor, and she gets a tattoo. And there's Chinese or Mandarin, you know, all these, what do you call them, symbols or whatever.
Right.
And he tell, oh, this means something like peace and love and harmony and joy or eternal sunset or some such thing. So she has this tattoo put right here on her by this guy, and then she becomes a waitress in a Chinese restaurant. And these two guys come in that are Oriental, and they are laughing at her all the time. And she's bringing them the menu, and they're laughing and snickering. And she says, "What's up? What are you laughing at me for?" You know, she's this good-looking woman. And they said, "Oh, we find your tattoo amusing." And she said, "Well, why? It means like eternal harmony or something like that." And he said, "No, it doesn't. It means red sauce with egg rolls."
Must have been a beautiful symbol, right?
So be careful when you get that tattoo.
Wow, and that's another thing, the permanence of it.
Oh yeah, right.
I think that's one thing that's a little scary as adults looking at younger kids getting tattoos. If they realize, if they don't like it, how difficult it is to have it removed.
Right.
If they decide later down the road that it isn't really what they want.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Then it gets complicated.
Right. You know, there's a great line in one of Jimmy Buffett's songs, and the name of his song is a permanent reminder of a temporary feeling. And one of the parts is, kind of to paraphrase, is that about the daughter who comes back from the Far East, and she has a tattoo of an Indian on her back, a big tattoo of an Indian on her back, and you know, and the lyric is that she claims that it's a badge of validation, you know, and the next line of coming along with that is that no, really, it's just a permanent reminder of a temporary feeling. And there's more to that, of course, with other things that are permanent reminders of temporary feelings. But I thought that was really great about the tattoo. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've known folks with tattoos, and they, you know, basically they're happy they have them, and they're glad they did it, and they would do it again, and will do it again. You know, that's fine. Right. And I'm not, you know, and again, I'm really not judging. I'm observing. I really am observing. For all you people, you know, with tattoos. And I'm asking, and it's all about asking. Is, you know, what is happening? You know, I mean, and if abnormal is the new normal, then okay, fine. Then I'm, you know, I'm getting older, and I'm starting to think like my grandfather.
I'm understanding more about tattoos in knowing the history of where they came from. That I didn't know that. I was totally unaware of that.
Right.
I'm understanding more about tattoos. I'm also aware that I've known people that had tattoos they wanted removed, and it depends on how big it is and how, whether or not they can cut it out and pull the skin together, or whether it'll scar, and a whole lot of things.
Right, right.
And I think that, you know, when we make a decision to scar ourselves for a memory, it's not easily undone.
Right, right.
Because in that sense, it becomes a scar. Now, if you're a warrior and you're wearing this scar,
sure,
it has meaning.
Sure.
So what meaning it has to the person that is wearing it is really theirs. If the meaning is only rebellion, is it worth it? I don't know.
Good question.
That's a personal question.
Oh, absolutely.
For each and every one.
Right.
For the pinnings and the piercings, I think how a person feels about that is very individual.
Yeah.
And so what becomes hooray or nay then becomes in relationship to what conscious awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see any logical consequences or conscious awareness in wearing your pants so low that if somebody steps on the edge of them, you're going to lose them. I can only see that as a rebellion. I can't see it as anything else.
Right, right.
I can't see it as stylish because
Right.
I see it as comical.
Yeah. Well,
It
right,
reminds me of a person in a cartoon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I do think it's comical, and I actually think it's funny, and they think they're in style, but then there you go. I comprehend the logic, and there is some, of piercing ears compared to the earrings that women used to wear that used to clamp on and really be painful and all that sort of thing.
Right.
And I understand some logic in that.
Right.
I don't understand logic in pinning your eyebrow and your lip. And
Well, I guess part of what I think about, now maybe I'm totally wrong, but I understand that with certain, with piercings, when you pierce a part of your body,
yeah,
that there can be, and there is, to some degree, in some people, in various circumstances, a problem with infection.
oh, that's very true.
Okay, so I go to the coffee shop, and I have this lady who's getting my coffee cup, and she's pouring my coffee, and she's giving me my change, and she's got a ring in her nose, and a ring in her lip, and a stud in her tongue, and whatever else she might have going on, and she's full of tattoos, and okay, fine. Well, I'm thinking, who knows what she's been doing? If she just came out of the kitchen, or, maybe she's just had to do this with maybe her little lip ring is itching because it's infected, and she's been scratching at it. Now she grabs my cup, and she gives me my cup. She gives me my change. I mean...
Yeah, you're getting all, yeah.
I mean, maybe that's really reaching, but who knows?
I heard a professional tattoo artist give a lecture on infections with tattoos and how they were dealt with. Usually in the PowerPoint series that she had, she pointed out that when there is usually an infection, it creates what I call a little proud flush around there before they can get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person had an infection, they should know right away whether or not they've got an infection. I don't think it would be terribly easy to hide. It would be red, it would be inflamed,
Right.
and ultimately it might be producing proud flesh around the piercing.
Right.
So I think that fear, if the person didn't have any of those signs, is probably just you're scared. So because it's like a cleanliness thing rather than an infection thing, because the infection, she would have known it, and it would be showing, and infections become red and raised and do all sorts of little things.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah, at some point.
Right.
You could clean it with a cotton swab and alcohol, but surely if you're working all day, that's maybe get done in the morning before you leave, and that's it. So it wouldn't be done after you come out of the restroom fixing your makeup or adjusting the pin, or so you have. Yeah, there's some areas there.
I know what.
Yeah, take it. That's all right. There's some areas there.
I know what it is. It's my grandfather was a doctor, see, so that's what it is. It's like I'm thinking this doctor stuff.
Medically, I think you have a point in the overall thing. If we're going to pierce ourselves for recreation, there is a danger of infection. I mean, you get step on a weed and it pierces your foot. You do something about it right away to keep it from getting infected.
Right.
There is a danger of these things, and that can be scary. Of course, with the tattooing is supposed to be done by a professional, and they take their precautions, and it still happens, but still, life is less than perfect.
Right. Well, okay, yeah. So the bottom line is, just to clarify here, it's a question. The whole piece is about this is a question. I mean, is abnormal the new normal? That's all. And
I don't think it is. I don't think it is the new normal. Because if you go across the United States, we don't see it only in certain hot spots. Okay?
on the coasts, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I think you will see the unusual faster in certain areas of California, and there are other states that have their little areas.
Right.
But across the nation, no. And here in Humboldt County, it's really unique. I've had people come in town and say, oh my goodness, I told my friends to come up to Eureka for a holiday, and they told me that everybody was weird and they couldn't wait to get out of there. So you're not alone in your thinking.
Well, this wasn't in Humboldt County, though, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Reno, of course. The Reno is the bastion of conservatism, right?
There you go. Yes. Well, if you're going to go to Vegas and you're going to go to Reno, you're going to get these hot spots again. There's certain hot spots,
right.
but Humboldt County doesn't need Vegas or Reno to be a hot spot.
Yeah, that's very
They
true.
like being different.
Oh, yeah.
They pride themselves in. Let's get realistic. There is a huge generation here that sprung from the original movement of the hippies days.
Oh, yeah.
And that's sort of their DNA. Let's go be something different.
Right.
And so you get more of it here.
Right.
And so it is unique.
Right.
Is it good? The question becomes then, for whom?
Right.
For whom is it good or who is it not?
Right.
And that's an individual question again. But it is totally interesting. One thing we will never die of in Humboldt County is boredom.
That's true.
It's not going to happen, Dave. But thank you for sharing that with us.
Okay.
Because as a man who's traveled a lot, we really appreciate your wisdom. And it helps. It really helps to get us to think. Is it something you want to last longer than a permanent reminder of a temporary feeling?
I don't know.
And is abnormal the new normal? Is it really going to change that much? Or will we simmer down? I think it remains to be seen.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Rebecca.